Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to tackle one of the trickiest puzzles for anyone learning French, adjectives. You know, they seem to have a mind of their own, right? They change their form, they move all over the sentence. But here's the secret. It's not random at all. It's actually a code, and today we are going to crack it together. So let's just dive right in and look at the core of this puzzle. In English, it's totally straightforward. The beautiful old house. The adjectives just line up nicely. But in French, we get la belle vieille maison. So you have to wonder, why do beautiful and old suddenly jump before the noun? And why do they look like that? This is exactly what we're going to figure out. So here's our mission plan. We'll start with the puzzle itself, then we'll get into the two biggest rules, getting adjectives to agree and figuring out where on earth they go. After that, we'll uncover some really cool adjectives with secret meanings, and finally, we'll decode the special rules for colors. Let's get to it. Okay, so really, this whole puzzle boils down to two things: form and placement. See, unlike in English, you can't just drop a French adjective into a sentence and call it a day. Nope, they have to be chosen and placed really carefully. This is what trips so many people up, but I promise, once you learn the system, it really does become second nature. Let's start with our first key to cracking this code: agreement. This is absolutely the most fundamental rule you need to know, and it's all about how an adjective changes its shape. So, what is agreement anyway? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Think of it like this. The adjective has to dress for the noun it's with. If the noun is feminine, the adjective needs to put on its feminine form. If it's a masculine noun, it wears its masculine form. They just have to match in gender and, as we'll see, in number too. Now, what's really cool here is how simple the most common rule is. To make a masculine adjective feminine, you usually just add an E. So grande becomes grande. But listen, the pronunciation actually changes. That silent D in grande suddenly gets pronounced in grande. That is a huge clue when you're listening to spoken French. And here's where the language gives us a little break. If a masculine adjective already ends in an E, like coupable, which means guilty, you don't have to do a thing. It stays exactly the same for both masculine and feminine nouns. Easy, right? Okay, but of course this is French, so you know there are going to be some irregulars. The good news is they're not completely random. They often follow predictable patterns. Adjectives ending in en usually switch to en, like italien to italien. Or if you see that ending, it almost always flips to is. Once you start spotting these patterns, you can make some pretty good guesses, even with words you've never seen before. And then you've got the true celebrities, the ones that just don't follow any rules. Words like beautiful, new, and old have completely unique forms. So beau becomes belle, nouveau becomes nouvelle, and vieux becomes vieille. Honestly, the best approach for these? Just memorize this small, super common group. They pop up everywhere. All right, we've figured out how adjectives change their form. Now it's time to tackle the second half of the puzzle. Where do they actually go in a sentence? This is the big one. If you're ever in doubt, just remember this. The vast majority of French adjectives come after the noun they describe. This is the total opposite of English, and trust me, getting this right is a major step towards sounding way more natural when you speak. And these examples show that rule perfectly. We say plats italiens for Italian dishes, not Italiens plats. It's chaussures noires for black shoes, not noires chaussures. The adjective almost always follows. This applies to things like nationalities, colors, and most of your typical descriptive words. But of course, there's a little group of rebels. I like to call them the before the noun crew. These are some of the most common adjectives in the whole language, and they almost always break that main rule and come before the noun. Think of words for beauty, age, goodness, and size. They often fall into this special little club. Now for my favorite part. This is the really cool stuff. Some adjectives are kind of like double agents. Their meaning completely changes depending on whether they come before the noun or follow the main rule and come after. Okay, check this out. This is where French gets so incredibly nuanced and, well, fun. Un grand homme means a great or important man. But if you move the adjective, une femme grande just means a tall woman. Mon ancien mari is my former husband, but une statue ancienne is an antique statue. And sa propre idée is his own idea, while une nappe propre is a clean tablecloth. Mastering this is like learning a secret linguistic handshake. It's so cool. All right, we're on the home stretch, the last piece of our puzzle, colors. For the most part, they follow the rules we've already learned, but they do have a couple of unique exceptions that are really important to know. So, the default setting for colors, super simple. They agree. Just like any other adjective, they match the noun in both gender and number. So, for example, in Elle a les yeux verts, the word for eyes, yeux, is masculine and plural. That means the color green, vert, also has to become masculine and plural by adding that S. But here are the two big exceptions. And the good news is they're invariable, which is just a fancy way of saying they never change. First, colors that are also nouns, like orange, the fruit, or marron, the chestnut, don't agree. Second, compound colors, like light green, vert clair, or dark blue, bleu foncé, also stay the same, no matter what noun they're describing. Let's really see this in action. On the left, we've got standard agreement. Chemises is feminine plural, so blanc changes to blanche. Simple enough. But look at the right side. These are the exceptions. Even though chaussure is feminine plural, orange doesn't change a bit because it's a noun, right? The fruit. It's the same deal for a compound color like gris foncé, dark gray. It just stays the same. No agreement needed. And there we have it. Mission accomplished. The code is officially cracked. So here is your simple 3-step checklist to use every single time you use a French adjective. First, look at your noun. Is it masculine, feminine, singular, or plural? Step 2, make your adjective agree with it. And finally, step 3, just ask yourself, is this adjective part of that special before crew, or does it follow the main rule and go after? So there you have it. We've decoded the whole system of French adjectives, from agreement and placement all the way to their secret meanings. See, they're not so random after all, are they? The only question left is, now that you've cracked the code, which of those awesome double-meaning adjectives like pauvre or propre are you going to try to use first? Happy learning!